When did we open up the shop? Leonard had, being a Latin and Greek major from Brown, had virtually no employment opportunities. And when he graduated, I don't know, back in the medieval ages, he decided he wanted to make banjos. Sort of the same thing. He's just, he was drawn to it. And back then there was nobody doing it. There were no parts. There were no catalogs. There were, if you wanted to make a banjo, you got some metal and a tree, and you just went for it.
I had a shop in Rhode Island that I opened in 1965 or something, and I moved out to Utah in 1973 and opened this shop. Not here, it was in another location down the street. And I met Kennard a couple of years after I opened and gave him some space.
And so he was really one of the pioneers of the modern era, redoing and dealing with old stuff. And when I met him, he had already had a shop back in Providence called Providence Guitar and Banjos. Was one of the first vintage instrument shops. Because back when we started out, they weren't really vintage instruments. They were just old guitars worth $500. And then during the course of our lifetime, they went from $500 to $5,000 to $30,000. And so that's the key to our marginal success, is just being in the right place at the right time in an industry that went from nothing to fruition to its now gradual decline.
You ask how we've affected the community. I think that for the first 20 or 30 years, we had a big effect on the community, and we sold a lot of instruments, and we had lessons, and we sold stuff, and we, generally were one of a major store in the area, and that has changed to a great deal, and we're mostly an online store with virtually no business in Salt Lake.
I think initially we were sort of a beacon because there weren't really any shops doing any of this sort of thing. Like when I started playing bluegrass back in the 70s, there was only one bluegrass band in Utah. And I was lucky enough to join that group and get a head start on things. And the same thing, but over the years we've sort of segued from being a guitar store that would do pretty much anything for anyone. We started out, we would like teach lessons, sell strings, and give you foot massages, anything for $20. And during the course of our lifetime, the business has changed it's mutated very many times. And during the course of those mutations, we've sort of segued into being a shop that deals exclusively with really high-end stuff. And so at this point, our interaction with the community is really almost not at all, because we are just really focused on buying and selling extremely high-end vintage stuff and working off the internet, which has sort of affected our business a variety of ways, both positively and negatively, but certainly caused a lot of adjustment to be necessary.